Bhagavad Gita class. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you.
Hare Krishna.
Very good.
Hare Krishna.
So I would like to introduce him to the audience. With your permission, can I do that, Prabhuji?
Hare Krishna.
So His Grace Prabhu Nirantara Dasa was born on the 20th of May 1950, and he surrendered to Srila Prabhupada in July of 1973. And April 1974, Srila Prabhupada gave him the spiritual name Nirantara Dasa. So, and he received his second initiation in 1975. He visited Santiago for the first time in 2005, and that's how I had the good fortune of associating with him. I reached out to him for the first time in 2009. I started writing to him doubts, questions, and that continues even today. I have some 2,700 emails from him in my inbox. Whenever I have a doubt, I write to him and he gives me a reply. And the best thing about him is the replies are instant and always from the Veda base with Shastric quotes and evidence and everything. So I'm very grateful to him. If there was no him in Santiago, then I would have not come to Krishna consciousness. So he's here today to summarize the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita for us. Over to you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitan Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Trinadapi Sunichena Tarar Iva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari Harir Nama Harir Nama Harir Nama Iva Kevalam Kalau Nastyeva 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 Gatir Anyata Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa Arigor Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So what I'm going to do for you today, first we're going to get in the mood of understanding Gita by reciting the Gita Mahatmyam by Sri Shankara Acharya. Gita Shastram Idang Punyang Ya Pathet Prayatak Puman Vishno Padam Avapnoti Baya Shokadi Varjita. One who with a regulated mind recites with devotion this Bhagavad Gita scripture, which is the bestower of all virtue, will attain to a holy abode such as Vaikuntha, the residence of Lord Vishnu, which is always free from mundane qualities based on fear and lamentation. Gita Dhyayana Shilasya Pranayama Parasya Cha Naiva Santi Hi Papani Purava Janma Kritani Cha. If one reads Bhagavad Gita very sincerely and with all seriousness, then by the grace of the Lord, the reactions of one's past deeds will not act. Maline mochanang pungsang jalasnanang dene sakrid gitamrita snanam sansara mala nashanam. One may cleanse oneself daily by taking bath and water. But if one takes a bath even once in the sacred Ganges water of Bhagavad Gita, for such a person, the dirt of material life is altogether vanquished. Gita Sugita Kartavya Kim Anyay Shastra Vistarai Ya Swayang Padmanabhasya Mukha Padmad Vanisrita. Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one need not read any other Vedic literature. One need only attentively and regularly hear and read Bhagavad Gita. In the present age, people are so absorbed in mundane activities that it is not possible for them to read all the Vedic literatures. But this is not necessary. This one book, Bhagavad Gita, will suffice, because Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic literatures, and especially because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Bharatamrita Vasarvasvam Vishnu Bhaktrad Vinisritam Gita Gangodakam Pitva Punar Janmana Vidyate. By drinking the Ganges waters of the Gita, which is the divine quintessence of Mahabharata, emanating from the holy lotus mouth of Lord Krishna, one will never take rebirth in this material world again. In other words, by devotionally reciting Bhagavad Gita, the cycle of birth and death is terminated. Sarvo Pashanido Gavo Dogda Gopala Nandana Parto Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdam Gitam Ritang Mahat. All the Upanishads are like a cow, and the milker of that cow is Sri Krishna, the son of Nanda. Arjuna is the calf, and the beautiful nectar of the Gita is its milk. And the fortunate devotees of fine theistic intellect are the drinkers and enjoyers of that milk. Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Gitam, Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva, Eko Mantrastasya Namani Yani, Karmapyekam Tasya Devasya Seva. There need be only one holy scripture, the divine Gita, sung by Lord Sri Krishna. There need be only one worshipful Lord, Lord Sri Krishna. There need be only one holy scripture, Bhagavad Gita. Only one mantra, his holy names, and only one duty, devotional service unto that supreme worshipful Lord, Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we have set the mood, the invocation. If you're ready to continue, raise your hands, and I'll see that you are ready to continue. Excellent. I would first of all like to bless all of you, as is my style of preaching. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha, kripasindubhya evacha, patitanang pavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. May Krishna in your heart inspire you, bless you, protect you, and maintain you. So now we will commence with my Bhagavad Gita summary. So many years ago, I went through the Bhagavad Gita and found all the sections where Prabhupada himself gives a summary. So that is the basis of this class. And also, you will see how I break out the Gita into subsections. You'll see as I proceed. So first, let's hear the words of our spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada writes in the Gita, Bhagavad Gita is the widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, glorification of the Gita, which we just did. There it says that one should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. The example of clear understanding is there in Bhagavad Gita itself, in the way the teaching is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord. If someone is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad Gita in that line of disciplic succession without motivated interpretation, then he or she surpasses all studies of Vedic wisdom, all scriptures of the world. One will find in Bhagavad Gita all that is contained in other scriptures, but the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. And for me personally, I can testify to this. Having been brought up in the Christian movement and having read the Bible for so many first 15, 16 years of my life, this was my experience. When I came upon Srila Prabhupada, his Krishna book, his Gita, his Bhagavatam, then I could understand, oh, this is now going way beyond what I was taught in school. So I can readily appreciate this. Let's continue. So this is the specific standard of the Gita. It is the perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. The topics discussed by Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya, as described in the Mahabharata, form the basic principle for this great philosophy. It is understood that this philosophy evolved on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a sacred place of pilgrimage from time immemorial. It was spoken by the Lord. It was spoken by the Lord when he was present personally on this planet for the guidance of mankind. So chapter 1 has 46 verses. Prabhupada entitles it, Observing the Armies on the Battlefield of Kurukshetra. Here is how I take this chapter and divide it into subsections. So verses 1 through 6 is the assessment of the Pandavas by Duryodhana. Verses 7 through 13, Duryodhana's assessment of the Kurus. Verses 14 through 19, the Pandavas and Krishna blow their transcendental conch shells. Verses 20 through 26, Arjuna surveys the scene on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Verses 27 through 38 are Arjuna's initial reasons not to fight. And then 39 through 46, Arjuna's further arguments from a different angle of vision. So that is how I separate the first chapter into sections. Here is Prabhupada's own summary of chapter 2. Prabhupada writes, this second chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul. So that was called Sankhya, as explained by the supreme authority, Lord Sri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. So now we have entered chapter 2 with this introductory paragraph. Chapter 2 is the second largest of the 18 chapters, and Prabhupada entitles it, Contents of the Gita Summarized. Here is how I break out the chapter. Verses 1 through 10, how Arjuna surrenders. And as I always point out in my own preaching, that this section, verses 1 through 10, this is the turning point of Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna addresses Krishna, Shishyaste hung shadi mang twang prapanam. This is where our Bhagavad Gita actually turns, because this is the point where Arjuna no longer wants to see Krishna as his friend, but wants his friend to act as guru, as teacher. So this is the turning point. Arjuna voluntarily turned to Krishna and asked him to please tell him what he should do. So Bhagavad Gita actually begins for Krishna in this chapter 2 with verses 11 through 30, which is called Sankhya. And as Prabhupada just said, it is an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul. That is Sankhya. Here, Srila Prabhupada gives a summary. The Lord now concludes the chapter of instruction on the immutable spirit soul. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna establishes that number one, the soul is immortal, and number two, the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher, namely Bhishma and Drona, would die in the battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe, number one, that there is a soul different from the material body. Number two, not that there is no such thing as soul. Number three, nor that living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity resulting from the interaction of chemicals. Number four, though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged. Number five, but at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. And that need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. So now chapter 2 continues. In my breakdown, I give verses 31 through 38, Kshatriya Dharma, verses 39 to 53, Buddhi Yoga, and verses 54 through 72, symptoms of transcendence. Here is how Prabhupada closes out chapter 2. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has summarized the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita as being the contents for the whole text. In Bhagavad Gita, the subject matters are Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. In the second chapter, Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga have been clearly discussed, and a glimpse of Bhakti Yoga has also been given as the contents for the complete text. So now we begin chapter 3. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, has very elaborately described the constitution of the soul in the previous second chapter, with a view to delivering his intimate friend Arjuna from the ocean of material grief. Then the path of realization has been recommended, Buddhi Yoga or Krishna consciousness. Sometimes Krishna consciousness is misunderstood to be inertia, and one with such a misunderstanding often withdraws to a secluded place in order to become fully Krishna conscious by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. But without being trained in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, it is not advisable to chant the holy name of Krishna in a secluded place where one may acquire some cheap adoration from the innocent public. Arjuna also thought of Krishna consciousness or Buddhi Yoga or intelligence and spiritual advancement of knowledge as something like retirement from active life and the practice of penance and austerity at a secluded place. In other words, Arjuna wanted to skillfully avoid the fighting by using Krishna consciousness as an excuse. But as a sincere student, Arjuna placed the matter before his master, Lord Sri Krishna. And Krishna, he questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. I'll repeat that. But as a sincere student, Arjuna placed the matter before his master and questioned Krishna as to his best course of action. And in answer, Lord Krishna explains elaborately karma yoga, or work in Krishna consciousness, in this third chapter. So here is chapter 3, which has 43 verses, and Prabhupada entitles it Karma Yoga. In my analysis, I say that the first 3 verses is where Arjuna questions Krishna. Now Prabhupada gives a little summary. In the previous second chapter, as a prelude to Bhagawad Gita, many different paths were explained, such as Sankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, control of the senses by intelligence, work without fruitive desire, and the position of the neophyte. But this was all presented unsystematically. A more organized outline of the path would be necessary for action and understanding. Arjuna, therefore, wanted to clear up these apparently confusing matters so that any common man could accept them without misinterpretation. Although Krishna had no intention of confusing Arjuna by any jugglery of words, Arjuna could not follow the process of Krishna consciousness either by inertia or by active service. In other words, by his questions, Arjuna is clearing the path of Krishna consciousness for all students who seriously want to understand the mystery of Bhagavad Gita. And yes, for me personally, I love this phrase, mystery of Bhagavad Gita. Why is it a mystery? Several reasons. Number one, unless you're a devotee, you cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. Now, other thing is, it's a mystery because little by little by little by little by little, Bhagavad Gita becomes more and more, how should I say, revealed to you, little by little. So you will read Bhagavad Gita one time and you will see, oh, I understand it in this way. But then years later, you'll read Bhagavad Gita or a second section and you will see, oh, it is like something else. It is different. There's more. So Bhagavad Gita is a mystery which gradually unravels and you get newer and newer, fresher and fresher realizations. I've been reading Bhagavad Gita since 1973. And still, if I read the Gita today, which I was this morning, yet a new angle of vision, a new insight was given. So in chapter 3, Arjuna questions Krishna. In verses 4 through 8, the subject matter is false renunciation. In verses 9 through 16, there is the cycle of sacrifice. In verses 17 through 19, the position of the self-realized soul. In verses 20 through 21, we see Krishna explaining the concept of setting the example. In verses 22 to 24, Krishna's obligations, yes, even though Krishna is independent from one angle of vision, Krishna also has obligations. In verses 25 through 30, there is the discussion of the difference between the learned and the ignorant. And in verses 31 through 35, final lessons on karma and duty. And in verses 36 to 43, the subject matter is lust. Now we go to chapter 4, which has 42 verses, and Prabhupada entitles it Transcendental Knowledge. Now, transcendental knowledge is different from material knowledge. Transcendental knowledge comes from Guru and Krishna and Shastra. Material knowledge is man-made, but transcendental knowledge is beyond the modes of nature. Let us see what Prabhupada says here about the third. Before we go to chapter 4, let's see what Krishna says about chapter 3. The third chapter of the Bhagawad Gita is conclusively directive to Krishna consciousness by knowing oneself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without considering impersonal voidness to be the ultimate end. In the material existence of life, one is certainly influenced by propensities for lust and the desire for dominating the resources of material nature. Desire for overlording and desire for sense gratification is the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul. So that is what lust is. I'll repeat that. The desire for dominating the resources of material nature and the desire for overlording and sense gratification. But by the strength of Krishna consciousness, one can control the material senses, control the mind, and control the intelligence. One may not give up work and prescribe duties all of a sudden, but by gradually developing Krishna consciousness, one can be situated in a transcendental position without being influenced by the material senses and the mind. And so, by steady intelligence directed towards one's pure identity, this is the sum total of the third chapter. In the immature stage of material existence, philosophical speculations and artificial attempts to control the senses by the so-called practice of yogic postures can never help a man towards spiritual life. One must be trained in Krishna consciousness by higher intelligence. So now, chapter 4, transcendental knowledge. Here's how I break it out. In verses 1 through 3, who can and how to understand the Gita. And I already told you that who can understand the Gita? Bhaktosi me sakacheti. Anyone who is a devotee of Krishna and anyone who is a friend of Krishna or friend to Krishna, that person only can understand Gita, not necessarily the scholar or anyone else. Simple. Are you a devotee of Krishna? Are you a friend to Krishna? If so, you can understand Gita. Verses 4 through 8, one of my favorite sections in all of Gita, understanding Krishna's transcendental position. That section right there, if you understand it properly, then you will be convinced once and for all that Krishna is the supreme. Very important section. In verses 9 through 15, Krishna explains how to achieve perfection. Now we have Prabhupada giving some summary. To act in Krishna consciousness, one has to follow the leadership of authorized persons who are in a line of disciplic succession, as explained in the beginning of this 4th chapter. The system of Krishna consciousness was first narrated to the sun god. The sun god explained it to his son Manu. Manu explained it to his son Ikshvaku. And the system is current on this earth from that very remote time. Therefore, one has to follow in the footsteps of previous authorities in the line of disciplic succession. Even the most intelligent man otherwise will be bewildered regarding the standard actions of Krishna consciousness. For this reason, the Lord decided to instruct Arjuna in Krishna consciousness directly. And because of the direct instruction of the Lord to Arjuna, anyone who follows in the footsteps of Arjuna is certainly not bewildered. So that is us. We are following in the footsteps of Arjuna. When we study Bhagawad Gita, that is called following the footsteps. So as it says here, if you read this Bhagawad Gita, you will never be bewildered. Okay, let's continue with chapter 4, verses 16 through 23, understanding karma, verses 24 through 31, understanding sacrifice, and verses 32 through 35, Krishna's final instructions on sacrifice. At this point, Prabhupada gives a little summary. By Maya alone, Arjuna thought that the temporary bodily relationships with his kinsmen was more important than his eternal spiritual relationship with Krishna. The whole teaching of the Gita is targeted toward this end. See how? Prabhupada is telling you what is the essence of Gita. The whole teaching of the Gita is targeted to this end. What? That a living being, as Krishna's eternal servitor, can never be separated from Krishna. And one sense of being and identity apart from Krishna is called Maya. Good definition of Maya. There are many definitions. This one is brilliant. A sense of being and identity apart from Krishna. The living entities, as separate parts and parcels of the Supreme, have a purpose to fulfill. Having forgotten that purpose since time immemorial, they are situated in different bodies as men, animals, demigods, etc. Such bodily differences arise from forgetfulness of the transcendental service of the Lord. But when one is engaged in transcendental service through Krishna consciousness, one becomes at once liberated from this illusion. One can acquire such pure knowledge only from the bona fide spiritual master, and thereby avoid the delusion that the living entity is equal to Krishna. Very, very important. We will never be exactly equal to Krishna because there is a word, asamardva. No one is equal to Krishna. No one is greater than Krishna. So this will always be our position. Chapter 4 finishes up with verses 36 to 42, understanding transcendental knowledge. Here, Prabhupada gives another summary. So when we speak of transcendental knowledge, we do so in terms of spiritual understanding. As such, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Ignorance is the cause of our bondage, and knowledge is the cause of our liberation. This knowledge is the mature fruit of devotional.
You're not getting it. I'll wake him up right now. I don't care.
And when one is situated in transcendental knowledge, he or she need not search for peace elsewhere, for one enjoys peace within oneself. In other words, this knowledge and peace culminate in Krishna consciousness, and that is the last word in Bhagavad Gita. The yoga system instructed in this 4th chapter is called Sanatan Yoga, or eternal activities performed by the living entity. This yoga has 2 divisions of sacrificial actions. One is called sacrifice of one's material possessions, and the other is called knowledge of the self, which is pure spiritual activity. If sacrifice of one's material possessions is not dovetailed for spiritual realization, then such sacrifice becomes material. But one who performs such sacrifices with a spiritual objective or in devotional service makes a perfect sacrifice. For when we come to spiritual activities, we find that these are also divided into two, namely, understanding of one's or self or one's constitutional position, and the truth regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who follows the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is can very easily understand these two important divisions of spiritual knowledge. For such a person, there is no difficulty in obtaining perfect knowledge of the self as part and parcel of the Lord. And such understanding is beneficial, for such a person can easily understand the transcendental activities of the Lord. In the beginning of this fourth chapter, the transcendental activities of the Lord were discussed by the Supreme Lord himself. One who does not understand the instructions of Gita is faithless and is to be understood to be misusing the fragmental independence awarded to one by the Lord. In spite of such instructions, one who does not understand the real nature of the Lord as the eternal, blissful, all-knowing personality of Godhead is certainly fool number one. Ignorance can be removed by gradual acceptance of the principles of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is awakened by different types of sacrifices to the demigods, the sacrifice to Brahman, celibacy, household life, in controlling the senses, in practicing mystic yoga, in penance, in foregoing material possessions, in studying the Vedas, and in partaking of the social institution called Varnashram Dharma. All of these are known as sacrifice, and all of them are based on regulated action. But within all these activities, the important factor is self-realization. And one who seeks that objective is the real student of Bhagavad Gita. Just see how nice these sections I have selected. I'm giving you the quintessence of Bhagavad Gita. But one who doubts the authority of Krishna falls down. One is therefore advised to study Bhagavad Gita or any other scripture under a bona fide spiritual master with service and surrender. A bona fide spiritual master is in the disciplic succession from time eternal, and the spiritual master does not deviate at all from the instructions of the Supreme Lord as they were imparted millions of years ago to the sun god, from whom the instructions of Bhagavad Gita have come down to the earthly kingdom. One should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is expressed in the Gita itself, and beware of self-interested persons who are after personal aggrandizement and who deviate others from the actual path. The Lord is definitely the supreme person, and his activities are transcendental. And one who understands this is a liberated person from the very beginning of one's study of Bhagavad Gita. Now we go to chapter 5. Prabhupada in the beginning gives a little summary. In this 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that work in devotional service is better than dry mental speculation. And devotional service is easier because being transcendental in nature, it frees one from reaction. In the 2nd chapter, preliminary knowledge of the soul and its entanglement in the material body were explained. How to get out of this material engagement by buddhi yoga or devotional service was also explained therein. In the third chapter, it was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. And in the fourth chapter, the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of sacrificial work culminate in knowledge. However, at the end of the fourth chapter, the Lord advised Arjuna to wake up and fight, being situated in perfect knowledge. Therefore, by simultaneously stressing the importance of both work in devotion and in action in knowledge, Krishna has perplexed Arjuna and confused his determination. Arjuna understands that renunciation in knowledge involves cessation of all kinds of work performed as sense activities. But if one performs work in devotional service, then how is work stopped? In other words, Arjuna thinks that sannyas, or renunciation in knowledge, should be altogether free from all kinds of activities, because work and renunciation appear to Arjuna to be incompatible. Arjuna appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge is non-reactive and is therefore the same as non-action. Arjuna inquires, therefore, whether he should cease work altogether or work with full knowledge. So we just heard a summary within a summary. Prabhupada is the expert teacher. In this one paragraph, we got a summary of 2, 3, and 4. This is why I love Srila Prabhupada. The way his books are composed. If you study Prabhupada's books carefully, line by line, you will become so knowledgeable, educated. You will become so first class. Please study Prabhupada's books line by line. These books, Prabhupada's books, are not like some novel. No, these are textbooks, very advanced textbooks on transcendental science. Yes, I use the word science. It is a transcendental science. That is Bhagawad Gita. So these books of Prabhupada have to be read carefully, line by line, and make sure you understand each word. So chapter 5 has 29 verses, and Prabhupada entitles it Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. So chapter 3 was just Karma Yoga, but this is taking it to another level. Karma Yoga meaning action in Krishna consciousness. So verses 1 through 6, I entitled Understanding Sannyas, Karma Yoga, and Sankhya. Verses 7 through 15, The Art of Working. Verses 16 through 18, Transcendental Vision. Verses 19 through 21, Brahman Realization. And verses 22 through 29, the Peace Formula, ending with that final verse. Bhoktaram yagitapasang sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mang shantam richati. Prabhupada called that verse the Peace Formula. If you want peace, you just need 3 things. What are those 3 things? That Krishna is the proprietor. Krishna, number 2, Krishna is the enjoyer. And number 3, Krishna is your dearmost friend. If you can understand those 3 things, that Krishna is the proprietor of everything, material, spiritual, whatever in between, if you understand, no, Krishna is the proprietor, now you're right there in step number 1. Step number 2, I am not the enjoyer. I am the servant of Krishna. Krishna is the real enjoyer. So once you understand that Krishna is the only true enjoyer and that I am his eternal servant, that's the second principle of peace. And then third, my favorite, Krishna is in the heart. I love this concept of Bhagawad Gita. I knew this instinctively from the age of 5, probably because I had studied Bhagavad Gita in a previous life. So from the age of 5, I knew Krishna was in I didn't know who Krishna was, but I knew God was in my heart. And when I read Bhagavad Gita, more than once, at least 5 times it is mentioned, Krishna is in the heart. So these 3 things, if you know, then you can have peace. I'd like to tell a little story just to break up the class a little bit. So one time I was preaching in Panama, and it was a very, very wealthy Sindhi family, and they lived on the 25th floor, the penthouse suite. They owned the whole floor. And there were some relatives from Hong Kong, Sindhi from Hong Kong. So I did the program, and after the program, the rich Sindhi lady from Hong Kong, she questioned me, "Oh, Swamiji, how can I have peace? I don't have any peace. Can you give me peace?" As if I had peace like a magic wand. "Yes, I give you peace." So I said to the lady, I said, "Okay, you don't have any peace in your life. Well, let me ask you, do you eat meat?" She goes, "Oh, yes, we enjoy very nice." I said, I can't give you peace then. I said, "Okay, do you drink alcohol?" She goes, "Oh, yes, we like that very much." I said, that's the second reason why I can't give you any peace. And then I asked her a third question. I said, "Do you gamble?" And she said, "Oh, yes, we have lots of fun gambling." So I said, "We have an expression in America, 3 strikes, you're out." So how can I give you peace when you are doing these 3 sinful activities? You yourself are preventing yourself from having peace. I said to her, if you want peace, these 3 things you have to give up. Give up the meat eating, give up the alcohol drinking, give up the gambling, and replace that with Bhagavad Gita. Then you will have peace. But these things that you're doing is by nature preventing you from having peace. Okay, let's hear Prabhupada's summary of chapter 5. After explaining the above principles of liberation in the Supreme, the Lord gives instruction to Arjuna as to how one can come to that position by the practice of the mysticism or yoga known as Ashtanga Yoga, which is divisible into an 8-fold procedure called Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. In the 6th chapter, the subject of yoga will be explicitly detailed, and at the end of the 5th, it is only preliminary explained. So one has to drive out the sense objects, such as sound, touch, form, and taste and smell, by the pratyahara process in yoga. Then keep the vision of the eyes between the 2 eyebrows and concentrate on the tip of the nose with half-closed lids. There is no benefit in closing the eyes altogether, because then there is a chance of falling asleep. The reason why Prabhupada wrote that is because when Prabhupada first came to America, he was invited to attend some other yoga ashrams where they did meditation as described here. And Prabhupada said that he noticed that many of the students, after some time, when they were doing their yoga, they were snoring, they were sleeping. So Prabhupada has some experience of this. Nor is there any benefit in opening the eyes completely, because then there is the hazard of being attracted by sense objects. The breathing movement is restrained within the nostrils by neutralizing the up-moving and down-moving air within the body. By practice of such yoga, one is able to gain control over the senses, refrain from outward sense objects, and thus prepare oneself for liberation in the Supreme. This yoga process helps one become free from all kinds of fear and anger, and thus feel the presence of the supersoul in transcendental situation. In other words, Krishna consciousness is the easiest process of executing yoga principles. Yes, this will be explained in chapter 9. In chapter 9, this will be explained by the line, Susukam kartam avyayam. Susukam. The practice of Krishna consciousness is sukam. Sukam means easy, enjoyable, pleasurable, happy. But when the affix su is added, su means even more so. So Krishna consciousness is the topmost pleasure, the easiest process. This will be thoroughly explained in the 6th chapter. A Krishna conscious person, however, being always engaged in devotional service, does not risk losing one's senses to some other engagement. This is a better way of controlling the senses than by Ashtanga yoga. Yes, in Ashtanga yoga, you simply restrain all the senses from acting. But in Bhakti yoga or in Buddhi yoga, you use the senses, but using them in a transcendental way, in a spiritual way, is better, because they're not engaged in material activities, they're engaged in spiritual activities. So this 5th chapter is a practical explanation of Krishna consciousness, generally known as karma yoga. So in this section, this first 6 sections of Bhagawad Gita, Prabhupada has been using the term karma yoga, buddhi yoga, bhakti yoga, practically synonymous. At this level, he is simply using these terms for the same subject, namely Krishna consciousness. The question of mental speculation as to how karma yoga can give liberation is answered herewith. To work in Krishna consciousness is to work with the complete knowledge of the Lord as the predominator. That we already explained in the when I explained the peace formula. Such work is non-different from transcendental knowledge. Direct Krishna consciousness is bhakti yoga, and jnana yoga is the path leading to bhakti yoga. Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute Truth. And the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A pure soul is the eternal servant of God as his fragmental part and parcel. One comes into contact with Maya or illusion due to the desire to lord it over Maya. And that is the cause of one's many sufferings. As long as one is in contact with Maya, he or she has to execute work in terms of material necessities. Now, here comes an important line. Please pay attention. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one into spiritual life even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter. Please try to accept that line there. I'll repeat it because it's so important. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one into spiritual life even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter, for it is an arousing of spiritual existence by practice in the material world. The more one is advanced, the more one is freed from the clutches of matter. The Lord is not partial toward anyone. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness. That needs to be repeated. Everything depends on one's practical performance of duties in Krishna consciousness, which helps one control the senses in every respect and conquer the influence of desire and anger. And one who stands fast in Krishna consciousness, controlling the above passions, remains factually in the transcendental stage called Brahma Nirvana. The eightfold yoga mysticism is automatically practiced in Krishna consciousness because the ultimate purpose is served. There is a gradual process of elevation in the practice of yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. But these only preface perfection by devotional service, which alone can award peace to the human being. Krishna consciousness is the highest perfection of life. So now we will finish up with this final chapter, the 6th chapter. Prabhupada writes, in this 6th chapter, Krishna explains that the process of the eightfold yoga system is a means to control the mind and senses. However, this is very difficult for people in general to perform, especially in the age of Kali. Although the eightfold yoga system is recommended in this 6th chapter, the Lord emphasizes the process of karma yoga, or acting in Krishna consciousness, is better. Everyone acts in this world in order to maintain one's family and paraphernalia. But no one is working without some self-interest, some personal gratification, be it concentrated or extended. The criterion of perfection is to act in Krishna consciousness and not with a view to enjoying the fruits of work. To act in Krishna consciousness is the duty of every living entity, because all are constitutionally parts and parcels of the Supreme. Just as the parts of the body work for the satisfaction of the whole body, the limbs of the body do not act for self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, the living entity who acts for satisfaction of the supreme whole and not for personal satisfaction is the perfect sannyasi, the perfect yogi. So chapter 6 has 47 verses. It is entitled Dhyana Yoga. Verses 1 through 5, the subject matter is renunciation. Verses 5 through 10, Atma as the mind, because according to Lord Chaitanya, this word Atma can have 7 different meanings. So it depends on the context. It depends on the angle of vision. Because 3 of the meanings, Atma can mean the soul, Atma can mean the mind, Atma can also mean the body. So one has to fully understand the context when using this word Atma. Verses 11 through 19, how to practice yoga. Verses 20 through 2 and 23, the perfection of yoga. Verses 24 through 32, finer points of yoga. Verses 33 through 36, the nasty mind and Arjuna's rejection of yoga. Verses 37 through 45, what becomes of the fallen yogi. And the chapter ends with verses 46 through 47. Who is the best? So before we read Prabhupada's final summary, by breaking out this Bhagavad Gita in these different subsections, you get to appreciate, wow, there is a lot of information that we have studied. And again, I'm emphasizing that Bhagavad Gita must be read slowly, carefully, and digested. That's why I like breaking out Gita in these little subsections so that you understand all the different subject matters that are being explained. So here's Prabhupada's final summary. In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the living entity has been described as non-material spirit soul, capable of elevating to self-realization by different types of yogas. At the end of the 6th chapter, it is clearly stated that steady concentration of the mind upon Krishna, or in other words, Krishna consciousness, is the highest form of all yoga. By concentrating one's mind upon Krishna, one is able to know the absolute truth completely, not otherwise. Impersonal Brahma Jyoti, or localized Paramatma realization, is still imperfect knowledge of the absolute truth because it is partial, whereas full and scientific knowledge is Krishna, and everything is revealed to the person in Krishna consciousness. So here I'll comment. Yes, you stick to Krishna, you stick to chanting, you stick to reading Bhagavad Gita, everything will be revealed to you. That has been my experience, and the revelation continues day after day, moment from moment. Krishna reveals more and more, but you have to remain faithful to Krishna. Prabhupada continues, in complete Krishna consciousness, one knows that Krishna is the ultimate knowledge beyond any doubts. Different types of yoga are only stepping stones on this path of Krishna consciousness. One who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows about Brahma Jyoti and Paramatma in full. By practice of Krishna consciousness yoga, one can know everything in full, namely the absolute truth, the living entities, the material nature, and their manifestations with paraphernalia. One should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter. What was that verse? Yoginam apisarvesham madgyatain antaratmana sraddhavan bhajate yomam samay yukta tamo mata. So the 6th chapter ended by Krishna was saying that of all yogis, there are so many different types of yogis, but who's the topmost? Who's the best yogi? The one who always thinks of Krishna within and who has great faith in Krishna. That is the topmost yogi. So by reading Bhagavad Gita, by doing the different activities of Krishna consciousness, such as you're doing right now, Shravanam, hearing about Krishna, this kind of activity is very powerful, and it's helping you to remain fixed on Krishna. The purport continues. Concentration of the mind upon Krishna, the Supreme, is made possible by prescribed devotional service in 9 different forms. I just said this, of which Shravanam is first and most important. So these Zoom classes that you're having on a regular basis go on and on and on and on with Srinam Radha. Never give it up. She will do these programs until her last breath. So you stick with her. And you yourself become a teacher, become a preacher. That is Prabhupada's legacy. Everyone should become a preacher. How do you become a preacher? That was stated by Lord Chaitanya when the Kurma Brahmin asked him, I want to travel with you. Lord Chaitanya said, no, you stay home, stay in your village, but become guru. How do you become guru? You become guru by repeating Krishna Vani, Krishna instruction, simply by repeating Bhagavad Gita, simply by discussing and talking about Krishna Katha. That's how you become guru, simply. So this program weekly, I believe you have weekly, it's very important. This Shravanam process is so powerful. The Lord therefore says to Arjuna, touch Shrinu, hear from me. No one can be a greater authority than Krishna. And therefore, by hearing from Krishna, one receives the greatest opportunity to become a perfectly Krishna conscious person. One has to learn from Krishna directly or from a pure devotee of Krishna, and not from a non-devotee upstart puffed up with academic education. So that's my analysis of this first six chapters. I will point out that Prabhupada says that there are 18 chapters in Bhagavad Gita, and they can be divided into 3 sections of 6 chapters each. So I don't know if you have started already, but once you start chapter 7, you're in the middle 6 chapters. And Prabhupada says those middle 6 chapters are the most important of all the 18 chapters. And the first 6 chapters and the last 6 chapters are protective coverings of these middle 6 chapters. So you do not want to miss these classes that Srinam Radha is doing. This is the real Bhagavad Gita right here. So Srinam Radha, do we want questions or do we want kirtan? What do we want?
Does anybody have a question? If anybody has a question, you can ask, please. Looks like there are no questions, Gurudev.
All right, so what do you want to do?
Blessings. Can we have blessings, please?
Of course we can have blessings. But first, I want to do first stage blessings is of the Nishringa prayers. So let's do Nishringa prayers as a general blessing, and then I will bless everyone individual.
Thank you, Gurudev.
So you can show everyone. Namaste Narasimhaya Praklada Klada Dayane Hiranya Kashipur Vakshaha Shilatankana Kalaye Ito Nrsinga Bharato Nrsingho Yato Yami Tato Nrsingha Vahi Nrsingha Hridaye Nrsingho Nrsingham Adim Sharanam Prapadye Nrsinghamadin Sharanam Prapadye Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranya Kashipu Tanu Bringa Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Jai Jagadish. Jai Jagadish. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Hare. Jai Jagadisha Hare. Om Tat Sat. Okay, everybody can unmute themselves, and if you have a particular blessing that you want, then you can speak that. Otherwise, I will give general blessing. I'll go in line. So I don't know your name. I'm just going by the screen name, Karnani. So do you have a particular blessing that you would like?
Peace and harmony for everyone.
Okay, let there be peace and harmony for everyone, but everyone has to follow Krishna's peace formula, because I don't have a magic wand.
Yes.
So we bless everyone that they turn to Krishna and join this Bhagawad Gita class. This Gita class that you're having, this is how to achieve world peace. This class should be worldwide. Everybody should turn in. All right. And yes, there's Varsha. Good to see you, Varsha.
Hare Krishna,
And
Prabhuji.
Suresh, do you have any particular blessing you want?
Oh, this time I leave it to you, Prabhuji. You bless us. Please.
I bless you that Krishna removes all anxieties in your life, and that you become more and more closer to Krishna in your hearts. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then I
Prabhuji,
see
I have my mother-in-law here with me.
Jai.
Can you bless me too?
May
for
Krishna
good health?
bless you, protect you, and maintain you. Om Hari Om,
Thank
Hare
you so
Krishna.
much. You.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Jai. Yes, I am known as the blesser. I give fantastic classes, wonderful kirtan, but my greatest quality is my blessings. All right.
Thank you so much. We are here for your checkup.
Ritu, may Krishna bless you. Anything in particular you want?
No, Swamiji, you can bless me whatever you feel like.
I want you to attain pure love of Godhead in this lifetime. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Guruji. Hare
May
Krishna.
protect you.
Thank
And
you,
then we
Guruji.
have Haribol. Let's see if I can say your name right. Baria, how do I say it?
Baria.
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 May Krishna bless you and protect you.
Thank you so much. That is wonderful blessings you have given. And thank you so much for this beautiful, inspiring talk you gave to us. We are very grateful to you for that. And of course, to Lord Shri Krishna and Mataji, who has organized this. Also, please bless all the people in the world for love and peace, which is
Let's
so
bless
much
them.
disturbance is
I
going on.
agree. What the world needs now is peace all over, even America, my God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srinam Radha, I'll bless you at the end. So now we have Supriya and Sanchari. Hari Bol. May
Hare
Krishna
Hare
bless
Krishna.
your family. Do you have anything you need? Any
Just
blessing?
bless us, bless us, Prabhuji, so that we can advance ourselves in our spiritual life.
Yes, may there be all success in your spiritual life. And as Prabhupada writes in Bhagavatam, material well-being automatically follows spiritual well-being. So your desire to have good spiritual life means you will be taken care of materially. As you can see, I am not starving. Krishna is taking care of me.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Hare Krishna. Okay, there's Riya and Ayush. May Krishna bless you, protect you, maintain you. And anything you want in particular?
No, Prabhuji, just please, I need your blessing, please.
Yes.
Keep my family in your prayers, please.
Special blessings on your family. Yes.
Thank
Extra
you so much,
special
Prabhuji.
blessings. You
Thank
need
you.
Krishna to remove all the obstacles and make everything excellent for you and your family.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Okay, and there's my old friend Armin, who's now a young man. He's no longer a kid anymore. Very good, Armin. You have any blessing you want in particular?
No.
I like your headphones. You and I are cool, man. We have the headphones and microphone. Good for you. Oh, there's Ayush. Very good. Very good, Armin. May Krishna bless you and protect you throughout your whole life. May you flourish and become a spiritual man, not a man, a spiritual man. All right, there's Devina. Devina, what do you want? What is your blessing?
That I can learn all the verses from the Gajendra prayers, because I'm in another class learning Gajendra prayers now.
Gajendra prayers. Wow, that's advanced. You're on the Bhagavatam already. Oh my God. Then may Krishna bless you and fulfill that desire. Right. Okay. Then we have Jayita. Jayita, may Krishna bless you and your family. Anything in particular you would like?
Prabhuji, namaste. Bless my twin daughter so that they can grow nicely and we can follow the path of Prabhupada.
I will give your two daughters a special instruction. Put the camera on them. I do this with all kids. You too, you kids. Obey your mother and father. If you do that, you will get Krishna's blessings. That is my instruction to all children. Obey your parents because they're devotees. And if you do that, you will get Krishna's blessing. Can you do that?
Yeah.
All right. Very good. All right. Then we have the Poliseti family there in India. May Krishna bless you and protect you. Anything particularly you need blessing?
Please bless us to improve in spiritual.
Okay. May you improve your spiritual life. Hare Krishna. And if you want to improve, then preach. Tell others about Krishna or invite others to attend this class. You will be recognized by Krishna. And there is my old friend, Mehak. Mehak, Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Good to see you after a long time.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Now, where's my friend? Is he working today?
Yeah, he's working today.
He should tell him he works too much. He has to attend this class.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. Anyway, any blessing you want in particular?
Prabhuji, bless us that we should always remain in association with the dear devotees like you and Srinanama and Mataji Srinanama Radha.
Oh my God, that is an excellent request. Krishna will certainly fulfill your request to stay always in the association of devotees. That is the secret of success. If you stay in the association of devotees, Maya cannot grab you. Maya can only grab when I'm by myself. Maya gets in there. But if I stay in the association of devotees, Maya has no chance. May Krishna fulfill your desires.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Then we have Gayatri. Gayatri, may Krishna bless you and protect you. Do you have any special request?
Yes, Prabhuji, please bless me that to take this Krishna consciousness more seriously.
Yes. May you be fully determined, fully serious, and fully enlightened in Krishna consciousness throughout your whole life. May you stay tied to Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
And then we have Ramesh Chatlani.
They are my parents, Gurudev.
Oh, well,
Hare Krishna,
well,
Hare
well.
Krishna.
You are already blessed having such a wonderful preacher daughter. You are already blessed. So you just take care of your daughter, support her, encourage her, enthuse her. Whatever she needs for preaching, you provide for her. And you will be blessed by Krishna, guaranteed. So may Krishna bless you. Do you have any special requests for yourselves?
Nothing, just peace and harmony, Guruji.
Okay, may there be peace and harmony, provided we stick to Krishna. Hare Krishna. Very good. Now we have Neha Chatlani. May Krishna bless you and protect you. Do you have anything you would like in particular?
The Guruji, I want to maintain the faith in Krishna consciousness. I want to be in Krishna consciousness always. Please bless me with that.
I bless you in the following way. If you read Bhagawad Gita every day, you will remain with Krishna. If you attend this Zoom program, you will always have the association of Krishna. Do you chant on beads every day? Do you do any chanting?
Yes, Guru.
Oh, then.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
If you do chanting, you are begging Krishna. So go on chanting. I will give you blessings that your desire is fulfilled. Is this your mother next to you? Is this your mother?
Yes.
What blessing does she want?
Yes, Guruji, yes.
What does she want?
Nothing. Let us be peaceful everywhere.
Everybody wants peace. Okay.
We need only peace, Guruji.
All right. Well, I've already explained how to get it. You can't buy it on Amazon.com. You can only get peace through Bhagavad Gita, Krishna chanting. All right. Now we go to the best name here. I see Krishna. Best name. May Krishna bless you, Krishna. Hari Bol. Where did he go? Where did Krishna? There he is. Krishna.
Hi.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Do you need anything in particular as blessing?
May Krishna guide me in whatever I do, just like he guided Arjuna.
Good request. May Krishna guide you from within and give you good instruction, and may you also follow Krishna's instructions in your heart. Hare Krishna. Then we have Usha Mehta. May Krishna bless you and protect you. Usha, what do you have for your request? You have to unmute. You have to unmute your microphone. I can't hear you, Usha. She's not unmuting her microphone.
Prabhuji?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
I just want you to bless my brother to get well soon and my daughters.
May Krishna bless, protect, and maintain. May you be fully rejuvenated by Krishna's blessings. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
May you become fully revigorated. Jai. All right, we already did Supriya and Sanchari. Now we have Disha. Did I say that right, Disha?
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare, may Krishna bless you. So what request do you have? What blessing?
For any obstacles to be eliminated from my spiritual path.
Oh, yes. May Krishna remove all the obstacles in your life. May you progress like the Ganga flowing. May there be no obstruction. May you conquer. And may you become staunch devotee of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Ho.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, now we have Vrinda Gopika. Jai Vrinda Gopika.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Koti
Oh, you're driving in a car and attending class. Very good. Excellent.
daughter is driving, Maharaj.
Yes.
Koti koti dandavat pranam. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Please pray for me and my two daughters and my Prabhu that we always remain Krishna and never forget Krishna, and we get a strong association of Vaishnava and Srinam Mataji's association and your association. Please pray for all of us. Koti
Such
koti
a
dandavat
pure
pranam, Hare
prayer
Krishna.
has to be fulfilled by Krishna. May Krishna fulfill your pure desire. May everything come as you desire. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. And then there's
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare
Tejal
Krishna.
Shah.
Koti koti dandavat pranam.
Hari Bol. Tejal, what is your request?
Hare Krishna. I am trying to be more selfish. I have 3 requests. I hope you bless me for the same. I have started chanting since I have joined these classes, but I have not yet reached 16 rounds daily. So I want you to bless me first of all for that. Secondly, 6 chapters are over and
Wait.
yeah.
We'll do one blessing at a time. May you get to the point of 16 rounds. May you get that strength from Lord Chaitanya and Guru Dev. Number 2.
Thank you. Number 2 is, since now we are learning so many things that Krishna has said in Bhagavad Gita, I would like to follow each and everything that he said in my real life. Whatever he said till now, we have, yeah.
May you be successful in executing all of Krishna's instructions. But actually, even if you follow just one, you're success. So you want success on success on success. So yes, may you obey all of Krishna's instructions in Gita.
Okay.
And number 3.
And last but not the least, I want to be in Krishna consciousness till my last breath.
Jai Ho, may Krishna fulfill that desire.
Hari Bol.
May you always be with Krishna through thick and thin.
Thank you.
All right, now
Thank
we
you
have
so much.
Shivani. May Krishna bless you and protect you. And what request do you have, Shivani?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Dandavat pranam. Please bless me that I can do chanting till my last breath, and I can be my progress in my bhakti and bring my family into Krishna consciousness.
May Krishna fulfill your desire, and at your every breath, even up to the last, Krishna is there in your heart, on your tongue. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
All right, we did that. We did. And now I think Karuna Jadwani. Karuna.
Hare Krishna Gurudev.
What request do you have?
I need peace and happiness for my family.
Then you have it. May Krishna fulfill your desire that you have peace in terms of Krishna consciousness. May you always be protected by Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So I think that's everyone. So now Sri Nam Radha. What
Gurudev,
blessing do you...
Neelam is left. She's there with the name iPad in the list.
Oh, okay. iPad. What's her name?
Neelam.
Leelam, may Krishna bless you and protect you. And you have any particular blessing you want?
Hare Om Krishna, Guruji, I just need blessings to be in Krishna consciousness and peace and happiness for my family and children.
Yes. If you are in Krishna consciousness, you will be in peace and you will give peace to others. May Krishna fulfill your pure desire. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
All right. Srinam Radha, is that everybody?
Yes, Gurudev. Now, yes. Thank you so
All
much.
right. So now what blessing do you want?
Hey, Gurudev, please bless me that I can fulfill the instruction of my spiritual master in this lifetime.
Yes. May you be empowered to execute the instructions of your spiritual master. And may, by this preaching, may you go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank
So,
you.
anything else before I sign off?
No, we are good, Gurudev. Thank you so much for your wonderful class, for your blessings. We are truly blessed. Thank you so much.
Can I
May
share
Krishna-
one little thing with you, Guruji?
Yes.
My mother, who's not here on this earth anymore, she had mastered all the shlokas of Gita by heart, And she used to recite every morning from 4 to 7 o'clock. And then she told me also, but I was so busy in bringing up the family that I did not. But now I'm so much interested. And she, one line she said all the day, that was, Krishna, I'm not coming to you unless you come and get me. That was the condition she put it. And sure enough, when the last time an end came, she was so happy. She was clapping. I said, what happened? Did you see Dad? She says, no. I said, did you see Lord Krishna? She says, yes, he's here. Like, she didn't have speech, but with her hand action, she was trying to tell me that my wish is fulfilled and Krishna is here to get me.
Jai, this is a success story. Excellent. Krishna is the dearmost friend.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for your blessings.
Okay, everybody. Till the next time. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama.
Rama Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
So, adios.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Dhamma Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay.